Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Hey there, history buffs, welcome back to another episode of the History AI podcast. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Marco. Today, we've got a pretty atomic episode for you.
Oh, are we talking about the evolution of the atomic bomb?
Not quite, Chuck. We're going back, way back, to ancient Greece. We're diving into the life and times of Democritus.
Ah, the father of the atomic theory. This is going to be a blast. Pun intended.
As always with the puns, Chuck. Alright, let's get started.
So, Democritus. Born in Abdera, Thrace, around 460 BC. He came from a wealthy and noble family. Fun fact, his father was so wealthy that he sent a gift of money to Athens to support their democracy.
It seems the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Democritus was always keen on understanding the universe, and perhaps his family's contribution to democracy inspired his curious nature.
No doubt. In fact, his parents provided him with a vast education. He studied under Leucippus, who was considered the founder of atomism, and also traveled extensively throughout the known world, including to Babylon and India.
Speaking of Leucippus, some historians think that many of Democritus' theories were actually influenced or even co-created with him. The two of them are kind of like the Lennon and McCartney of atomism.
That's a way to put it. But, aside from studying the atom, Democritus was a man of many talents. He wrote on a wide range of subjects, including ethics, mathematics, music, and even the nature and origin of the universe.
Quite the Renaissance man, even before the Renaissance was a thing.
Now, let's dive into his work in science, especially his atomic theory.
Absolutely. Democritus believed that everything in the universe is made up of tiny, indivisible particles called atoms. And while these atoms move in a void, they can come together to form compounds.
So, like, if atoms were a band, some would be solo artists, and some would form supergroups?
Exactly. But remember, Democritus lived over 2,000 years ago, so he didn't have modern instruments. He came up with these ideas based on reasoning and observation.
Which is mind-blowing if you think about it. This ancient thinker was onto the idea of atoms long before our modern microscopes could even see them.
We'll be back to our atomic discussion in a minute. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
From the mind behind the History AI podcast comes an electrifying journey into the past. A ripple through time, Franklin's Folly. Dive into a tale where Benjamin Franklin, America's beloved inventor, takes an unexpected journey through time. But with his leap, he unleashes a powerful ripple. Now, with dark forces lurking in the shadows, harnessing this energy to shatter and enslave the world, it's a race against time. Will Franklin fix the future? Or will history rewrite itself? Uncover the secrets. A ripple through time, Franklin's Folly. Time has never been more fragile. On Amazon pre-sale now.
Now, back to Democritus. Let's discuss some of his other theories.
Beyond atoms, Democritus had thoughts on perception. He believed our senses could be deceived, and true knowledge comes from logical thinking. A bit like, don't trust everything you see on the internet today.
A message for the ages. He also believed in determinism, that everything happens out of necessity and not chance. It's a philosophy still debated today.
Well, speaking of debate, Democritus often clashed with other thinkers, like Plato. Legend has it, Plato disliked him so much that he wished all of Democritus' books be burned.
Yikes. Talk about academic rivalry.
Now, as with all great stories, there's an end. Democritus lived a long life for his time, reaching the ripe old age of 90. It's said that he spent his final years in seclusion, writing and reflecting on his life's work.
It's a testament to his genius that, even today, we're still talking about him. His concept of atoms forms the very foundation of modern science.
That's right. The name Democritus may not be as popular as some others from his time, but his legacy is truly explosive.
Had to sneak one last pun in, didn't you?
Couldn't help myself.
His explosive legacy extended far beyond his own time. Many later scientists and philosophers built upon his atomic theory.
That's right. One big name that comes to mind is Sir Isaac Newton. He was heavily influenced by atomistic theory when he developed his ideas about the nature of matter in the 17th century. Newton believed in the existence of tiny, indestructible particles. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then there's John Dalton in the 19th century, who expanded on the concept with his atomic theory, suggesting atoms were the fundamental building blocks of matter and combined in various ways to form compounds. This was a significant step in modern chemistry.
Dalton's atomic symbols and ideas about atomic weights? Heavily inspired by ancient atomistic thought. There's no denying the line of thought that traces back to Democritus.
Even outside the realm of pure science, Democritus' ideas found echoes. Philosophers like Epicurus and Lucretius were drawn to atomism as a way of explaining the natural world without invoking the supernatural.
So, in a way, Democritus sowed the seeds for a future of thinkers and tinkerers who looked at the world, not through myths or legends, but through the lens of logic and observation.
A legacy any thinker would be proud of. Truly, the ripple effects of Democritus' thoughts can still be felt today. So there we have it, folks, the life, achievements, and lasting impact of Democritus. The man who believed in tiny particles long before it was cool.
And to think, his atom concept was just a drop in the ocean of his vast knowledge and theories.
We hope you enjoyed this atomic journey with us. And remember, if you like this episode, please rate, share, and leave a review.
It truly helps the podcast. So, from Chuck and Marco, thank you for tuning into the History AI podcast. Stay curious and keep exploring history.